Why can you not learn a language in 15 minutes a day? And how long do you need per day to learn a language? You can't actually interact with me. I'm in the past, unless you've found your way into a black hole. Speaking of black holes, that's not at all a cheesy segue into today's analogy, which is gravity. Hi guys, my name's Lamont. Welcome to Days of French and Swedish, where I talk about language learning, language-related stuff, foreign language stuff, all the sort of stuff that you probably clicked on this video for if you're interested in learning a language. Also, if you're interested in foreign language TV shows and movies, head over to my second channel called The Reykjavik Review, where I talk about that stuff. I'll put it just there. So I have these language learning packs that have been sitting on my shelf for pretty much all my videos. I got them from the post office for $2 each. They have books and CDs in them. Yes, CDs. I told you I was in the past. Complete language pack, Mandarin Chinese, learn in just 15 minutes a day. And it's not just weird $2 language learning packs from the post office that make this claim. Even Busuu, which if you've been around here before, you'll know I'm a huge fan of Busuu. You'll maybe have seen my review of it. I've given it a very, very positive review, and I've also named it in my top 5 language learning apps. I love Busuu, but they claim you can learn a language in 10 minutes a day. We've got a car alarm going off. Hopefully you can't hear that. But then again, if you can't, I'm just going to look weird right now sitting waiting for it to stop. Why is this? I am not actually saying that you cannot reach a high level in a language in 10 minutes. I'm not saying that you can't do it or that it's not possible. I'm saying that you won't do it. But think about the difference there. I'll give you a clue. There is no difference, okay? If you can't do it or if you won't do it, that amounts to the same thing. That amounts to you not doing it. The other thing is, even if you did commit to, say, 15 minutes a day, you make it harder for yourself by doing that. I wrote an article a few years ago called "The Problem is Gravity," and it was about learning languages and how the problem is that it's just too comfortable to not do what is required in order to learn a second language. It's too comfortable to keep speaking English even when you really should be practicing your target language. It's too comfortable to watch things in your native language or to have the subtitles on when you really should turn them off. All that stuff is too comfortable, and it's like gravity pulling you back down to your native language all the time. That's why it's so hard to sort of get off the ground, to get afloat to where you're actually thinking in the target language. And that is why, to people who don't speak anything of a second language at all, like no words at all, when they hear even a very rudimentary conversation between two learners of a foreign language, they think, wow, you guys are like fluent. A couple of months ago, I was at a party. There was a Belgian friend of mine there, and she is a Dutch-speaking Belgian, Flemish, but she speaks some French, and I was talking to her in French. And this was a very basic conversation, and there were a lot of pauses and searching for words and using sort of the close enough word, not necessarily the correct word, all that kind of stuff. But this girl was looking at us and she actually said, "I'm in awe of people who can do that." And you're like, what, have a really bad conversation in French? That's the thing. To her, we appeared to be fluent because she's never even reached that level in a foreign language. So to her, we appear like we've made it, we're off the ground, we're doing the things that she would like to be able to do, but can't. The gravity that I'm talking about doesn't necessarily take the form of your native language. It just takes the form of comfort, but it often does take the form of your native language. For example, if you're trying to have a conversation in a language that you really haven't studied at all and you're really, really basic level, and you know the other person speaks English, you feel that pull of like, no, I just want to say this, and that's gravity, when it pulls you back down and you're like, I'm sorry, I just have to do this in English. We all know that feeling, or I think most of us know that feeling. To become at least conversational and to the point where you're thinking in the target language as you're speaking the target language, that's sort of floating. But to be fully fluent in that language would be to be like in orbit, or to be in outer space. So coming back to these kits that claim you can learn in 15 minutes a day, and there are other sources that claim you can learn in 15 minutes a day or even less than that, I would say that's barely enough to even overcome gravity. You're being pulled back to your native language. You're constantly forgetting things in the new language. You're constantly not wanting to speak it because it's difficult. You're not wanting to spend time in that language. If you only commit to about 11, 12, 13 minutes a day in the target language, then you're being pulled back to earth. You're actually making it harder for yourself because you're deliberately kind of not wanting to get out of that rut, to get off the ground, if that analogy works for you. If that analogy doesn't work for you, it's sort of like a really dodgily structured mortgage, one that works out really well for the banks, right? Where, say, you're paying back $1,000 a month on a loan, a mortgage, but when you look at the paperwork, only $2 a month of that actually goes to what you owe. The rest is just paid in interest. That's sort of like this for language learning. You're doing so little to get beyond what you already know that it ends up not being efficient or beneficial. Sorry. Okay, intermission. I'm looking at this book again, and I've actually decided it's awesome and you can learn French in 15 minutes a day. No, seriously, I'm joking. But I have decided that these books, these kits, are the best $6, remember $2 each, that I've ever spent on anything. They are hilarious. The sentences in here are like, I've never said that in English, ever. I am doing a full response video to the material in these books. So why do resources like this, which claim that you can learn in such a short time, do so? Why do they claim that you can learn in 10 to 15 minutes a day when not only is that not realistic in my view, but it's also not even beneficial even if you were to do it? I think that it's because they want the customer to buy it, not necessarily to use it. Now I know that sounds fairly cynical, but if you think about it from a target customer's point of view, no one's standing in a post office and then decides, yes, I am going to learn Chinese, and actually means that for real. People have already decided that maybe they would like to learn Chinese one day, and then they're standing in the post office and they see a kit on clearance, like I did, except that I just bought it for my shelves to look nice, but they see that and they say, learn in just 15 minutes a day, and they think, yeah, I can probably give 15 minutes a day to that, but it's unlikely that they ever will. This brings us to what I think is the key point here, which is that there are people who decide to learn a language. Like they actually make a decision in their life, like I'm going to do this thing and not that thing. Whereas the other group of people, the people who buy a kit like this or see something online and commit to some kind of subscription program that says that you only need 10 minutes a day, those are people who have wanted to do it for a while but have not done it because they don't want to give anything up. We like the idea of being able to learn things without making a big sacrifice in our lives. But remember, the problem is gravity. The thing sucking you back towards it all the time, pulling you in, is your native language and not doing your 15 minutes a day, not writing to your friend in the target language, not speaking the target language when you're around native speakers. All those things that are comfortable, they're easy, and they're an overwhelming force. And the 15 minutes a day, it's a gentle claim. It sounds nice, it sounds easy, and therein lies the problem. It's appealing to the gravity. It's actually saying, yeah, that's okay, rather than fighting against it. So what do you need to fight against gravity? How do humans actually get into orbit? They use a rocket. Now, what's the disadvantage of a rocket? Well, you know you're in a rocket, right? No one just suddenly realizes that they're actually in a rocket. No one ever has a comfortable flight in a rocket, yeah? You know you're in a rocket. It may be exhilarating, it may be tense, it may be exciting, it may even be fun, but it's not comfortable. I'll tell you how I know whether someone is going to be successful in their language learning venture or not, because I can generally tell within about a minute or 2 or 3 of talking to them. It's about the way they talk about their target language. If they're talking about their target language as if this thing should have the least impact on their lives as is humanly possible. You know, I can listen to these MP3s as I'm going to sleep because I'd be going to sleep anyway. I can listen to stuff on the way to work because I'd be doing that anyway. I'll listen to something when I run, you know, everything as a secondary thing to the thing that they're already doing. And I advocate that you should do that, but if that's all you ever want to commit, then that shows something about your attitude to the language. Whereas you get those other people, they go, okay, I'm going to do half an hour a day of this program because that's what I have time for. But then they're also looking for other ways to fit it in. They're basically looking for all the opportunities in their life that they can fit in their target language. They're making hard decisions. My heroes in language learning, or in anything really, are people who can make those hard decisions. It's not even that they stick to what they say they were going to do. They do that as well, but it's that they make the decision initially. It's the decision point that I love. One of the best examples of this that I've seen is a non-Icelandic guy whom I met, and one day he basically just decided that he was going to learn Icelandic, and I think he spent about 6 weeks of holidays or something just studying the ins and outs of Icelandic, studying the grammar. These days, this is quite a few years later now, when I met him, he was living in Iceland and taking further courses in really specific uses of Icelandic and tutoring Icelandic online. That is the essence of a hard decision, right? What a champion. He's just gone, I'm going to learn Icelandic, make it happen. This is the thing about decisions. We don't like to make decisions. We don't like having to make them because we have to say no to something. To say, for example, I am going to learn German to fluency in 2020 would mean saying no to almost everything else in my life. Firstly, my current target languages. Secondly, my family, my job, lots of other things, right? I probably could do it, but it would be saying no to too many other things. So we don't like making decisions subconsciously because we know that it is saying no to one or more things. But we like it after we've made decisions, because to not make a decision is to try to do too many different things and to not really do any of them. Whereas when we make a decision and say, I want that and not that, then this thing, the one you chose, is much, much more likely to be successful. So we're happier people for having made decisions. You apply this to your language learning, right? Decide what it is you want to learn. If you haven't decided on a language, then decide on your language and decide that you want to learn that language, and don't look for it to make the least impact on your life as possible, because that's not going to work. Look for it to make the most impact on your life as possible, because that's how you will actually make it work. Otherwise, you're just going to spend 10 minutes a day for a few weeks dilly-dallying around in that language and you will never get off the ground in it. Maybe for you it's more specific than that. Maybe you already speak a little bit of your language but you want to speak it really, really well. Get into the uncommon habit of saying yes to something in that language, right? Saying more conversations, more reading, more listening, whatever it is you need to say yes to more of, and no to something else in your life that isn't doing anything for you. Just before we finish, one quick amendment to the whole 10 to 15 minute thing that I'm saying you can't learn a foreign language in that time. I'm not saying that you cannot improve a foreign language in that time. For example, there's someone I regularly communicate with here on YouTube, and I know that she kind of fits French in around her otherwise very busy life, right? But she's already reasonably fluent in French. She speaks French quite well, but she's trying to make it really, really good. That's a different thing. I'm talking about when you first get started, you need more than 10 to 15 minutes, not only because it's too soft a commitment for you to actually stay committed to, but also because you need to overcome the initial gravity and get off the ground. So when you're getting started in a foreign language, make a decision to learn that foreign language. It may be fun, it may be exciting, it may be fast, but it will not be comfortable. You'll have stuff going in your car, you'll be listening to it when you're going exercising, you'll be getting up early to study it, you'll be making that language a huge part of your life because you've made a decision to learn it and not a soft semi-commitment that you're going to eventually drop anyway. Guys, I hope you liked this and found it helpful. I didn't really have too many notes, so hopefully it wasn't too rambly, but if you are trying to learn a foreign language for real or trying to learn a third or fourth language for real, then stick around and subscribe, check out other videos, all that kind of stuff. As I said, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you for the next one. Bye.